Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Social Media Today, brought to you by Social Cycle. We talk about all things social media, news, tips, tricks, and hacks to help you get the full advantage of social media. I'm your host, Mohit. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Social Media Today. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Will. He's a good friend of mine. But Will, I can talk about who you are, but why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Totally. What's up, guys? So my name's Will. Like Mohit just said, I'm the CEO of Aeterna Media. We're a new media agency out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I spent maybe about the last 1.5 to 2 years really deep in the marketing space, marketing and media space. But before that, I worked in machine learning. I actually have a degree in data analytics, but I'm really passionate about kind of helping people use technology, especially social media and new forms of media, to grow their brands and to spread positive ideas and impactful things in the world.
Awesome, awesome. So you have like a data flare, but you can also apply it to social media marketing. That's amazing. What platforms have you had experience with?
Yeah, so really been all over the place. Instagram, Facebook, obviously being the two most typical ones for advertising and marketing right now. But also, I've run a TikTok campaign for one of the biggest music venues in the country. I actually got my start really in content creation on LinkedIn, and have had a lot of success with organic LinkedIn content marketing. So and touch Twitter a little bit as well. So kind of been all over the main ones. TikTok being the newest one that I've had some experience with playing around this year. So
I am curious, like, what's your experience with LinkedIn? Because it's sort of becoming the new Facebook, if you will. Like, a lot of people are encouraging like long form video. They have those, like what LinkedIn influencers do, where like they'll have a
yeah,
sentence, space, sentence, and that's to drive engagement. I'd love to hear your thoughts a little bit more about LinkedIn content curation on that.
yeah. So funny story, actually, LinkedIn was the first platform I ever really created for, which is not everyone's experience, obviously, but right when I was coming out of college and experimenting with a lot of different, I was going into the corporate world, but I was experimenting with a lot of different entrepreneurial business, ideas, and had started a blog and started kind of writing and creating myself. One of my friends that I had gone to high school with popped up on LinkedIn and was one of the kind of original LinkedIn influencers. And so he was like, hey, you gotta, I met with him and he was like, hey, you gotta start making content. His name's Quentin Allums. But he was like, you gotta start making content for LinkedIn. It's crazy right now. The organic reach is insane. Like the stuff you're talking about, like human optimization. And it was a big theme of mine at the time. And he's like, that's nowhere on LinkedIn right now. So I was like, okay, cool. I've never made videos before. But I'm open-minded and I want to grow, so I'm going to try it. So LinkedIn, I would say, was probably in that first year, 2018 to 2019, when I was just trying a lot of things and kind of cutting my teeth as an entrepreneur. That was probably the biggest tool that helped me grow my network and get to where I am today to get started. So I would not underestimate the power of LinkedIn, because if you're authentic with what you create and you put time in to engaging with other people's content, generally you'll gravitate towards people that are actually valuable for you in the business world, which is not something that you can say for any other platform. You can certainly find that other places, but it's probably it's an engaged business community. So yeah, don't overlook it.
So, when you were out building your network on LinkedIn, a lot of people say engage. You just said engage yourself. Could you elaborate further? Like, what does engage mean to you, and how did you engage in the past with other people?
Yeah, absolutely. So by engaged, I guess, there is, it's not perfect, because you can go on LinkedIn and your experience might be I put my title as founder and CEO, and I get 10 messages a day trying to sell software development and marketing and sales services. So I get that too, and that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. Although that is a big culture on LinkedIn. But when I say engaged, I mean actually finding people, whether it's like in your geographic area. For me, it was Minneapolis and St. Paul, and somewhat in the Midwest. That I really had been intentionally focusing on, or in your industry, maybe someone, if you're doing influencer marketing, go find other influencer marketers, influencer marketing directors, reach out to them, and then actually like not just sending a canned message or sending the connection requests and endorsing them, although you can do all that, but actually being intentional about having a real conversation. So going on their content and leaving a thoughtful comment, not just an emoji. Going into their DMs and like asking to get coffee or grab, hop on a Zoom, and obviously do that. You can do that in a way that's annoying and untasteful as well. So just be cognizant of people's time. But if you're young, or you're a new company, people do. I think a lot of people do want to help, and they are genuinely. If you're interesting and have something interesting to say, they are genuinely going to be interested back. Not everyone, but enough where it's going to be worth your time.
LinkedIn is all a numbers game. I mean, it's funny because the way that I got involved with Social Cycle was I was running an agency similar to you. I mean, similar to the co-founder Chaz. And Chaz hit me up on LinkedIn. We hopped on a call. I was like, I like this guy. He's smart, very smart. We just kind of kept in touch. But I mean, it all started out with a cold DM on LinkedIn. I showed him some samples of my work. And here we are. But so I want to go back to when you say like add value or be interesting. How does one be interesting to someone else? I mean, like what sort of content would you personally want to see if someone was to reach out to you?
Yeah, I would say look at what everyone else is doing and or talking about. For one, like you oftentimes I would say start by imitating people that actually like genuinely inspire you. So maybe like if you're a marketer and you're really passionate about with sports, don't create content about like interesting content about like an NBA player's personal brand, or something along those lines. Don't just regurgitate like the 5 tips for growing your account or whatever that everyone else on. Not that you can't give great advice on growing your account, but don't just regurgitate what everyone else is doing, but do like look at the style. If you have a content creator that you like, or you're on the LinkedIn feed and you see a video and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Go try to recreate it, and then put something relevant to your business or to your personal brand into that content. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Eventually, I'd say like if you're really going to be into content creating, or you're a founder and it's going to be a big part of your sales cycle, or a big part of just what you do on a daily basis, then you do want to kind of create your own personal style. Maybe come up with your own graphical style for your micro content, kind of maybe start a podcast. But yeah, I would say probably just get started by talking about something that is interesting to you and relevant to the types of conversations you want to have, or helpful for your business. So
Okay. Oh, wow. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of good, actionable information for the listeners. How did you figure out your personal style on LinkedIn? I mean, did you A/B test different things? What metrics did you base those? Like, what was a successful, I guess, marketing campaign when you were trying to find your style?
yeah, for LinkedIn, LinkedIn was interesting because at the time I wasn't actually, when I was really into it, and I guess it overlapped with the first company that I founded. But when I started, I wasn't a full-time entrepreneur. I wasn't necessarily using it to sell anything. I just wanted to kind of learn how to use my voice and create content, and see where, because I knew it was a skill I needed to develop. So initially, the success metrics for me was just number of new connections that I was able to go hop on a call with, and number of like new connections that I was bringing into my network of people that I actually had some kind of valuable engagement with, a comment or a message, some valuable engagement with. So that was really all I was tracking at the beginning. And as I started to use it more for my businesses, I would run camp, for example, when I was running a podcast, it was number of podcast downloads from the micro content that I was running campaigns for on LinkedIn, stuff like that. So if that makes sense.
Okay, gotcha. So, I'm curious. Like, I mean, what was like it sounds like your cycle, I guess, for new connections and your call to action was to hop on a call. So, like, when you were initially looking at people to hop on a call with, how did you reach out to them? So, can you like walk me through your flow a little bit? That'd be helpful for the listeners.
Totally. Yeah. So I would see someone's content or be put on to, have a connection, recommend, say, hey, go check out this person. So I would find either organically or through word of mouth, usually, find like a new potential connection. Right. And so that was the first step. Then I would go and look at their content. So I would go to their page, go to their content, and find either the most recent piece of content, or if they weren't posting a ton of content all the time, I just find an article or something that I thought was cool, or thought that I resonated with, and I would go leave a comment. I'd like it, and I would go leave a thoughtful comment, something that might start a conversation, right? More not like, hey, nice article, but hey, I really liked, X such and such, and you made a good point here. Here's what I think about this, kind of a thing. So I would leave a detailed comment, and I would send them a connection request. And if it was someone that I didn't try to hop on a call with everyone, right away. I would make the connection, then I would follow up. After we connected, after they responded to my comments, if they did, then I would, engage with them again, usually at least one other time. So I'd go back and engage with one of their other pieces of content. And then if there was a good back and forth, or if I really wanted to connect with this person, I'd reach out and I'd say, hey, I'm Will, here's what I'm doing. At the time I was, hosting a podcast and doing events for entrepreneurs. So I'd say, here's what I'm doing, and here's what, might be valuable to you, as an entrepreneur or a marketer or a content creator. I'd love to chat for 15 minutes and just connect. And I'm not saying that's the right way to do it for everyone, but that's what worked for me at the time.
Okay, so for all the listeners out there, Will is basically saying to search people within your niche, leave a comment, leave a thoughtful comment. Don't do some nonsense, leave a generic emoji or anything like that. Then send a very detailed and tailored connection request. Keep commenting, and then DM them. And remember that you can use Social Cycle to help you find new people to connect with and ways to manage your workflow. Cool. Well, Will, I'm also curious to hear about some of your influencer campaigns as well. Would you like to sort of talk about your experience with that?
Yeah, so my agency has been doing influencer marketing as kind of one of our core services, core areas of expertise. And when we run influencer marketing campaigns, for example, Snap Fitness, we've run some national influencer marketing campaigns for as one of our bigger corporate brands. And so when we run campaigns, we really want to focus on, one, ROI, ROI, or another success metric, whether it's brand impressions, awareness. You can define it in different ways, but usually it's ROI or like just reach and impressions. So we'll have that, but we also want to kind of qualitatively pair, there's an art and a science to it. So we really want and are intentional about pairing brands and influencers that fit each other, right? So like for example, fitness example, like a big tenet of their brand is, they want to make everyone feel comfortable, with improving themselves, and they want people to focus on holistic kind of improvement and starting where you're at. Mental health is a big theme for them this year. But for their gym, it's like, hey, we're not a gym where you gotta like be perfect to come in. We're 24/7. We're around the corner. And we really want to empower you wherever you're at to start taking care of yourself, or continue to push yourself in your fitness goals, right? So we really look for influencers, a really wide range, an inclusive range of men and women of all different colors and backgrounds, who are really pushing kind of that positive message of, they weren't necessarily all huge fitness influencers, but they were pushing kind of positive messages of, hey, like, take care of yourself. Mental health is important. Fitness is important. And so we paired a group of influencers with Snap Fitness kind of right after COVID, and did a campaign for a digital product that they launched to help people take care of themselves at home. And then we actually did a socially conscious marketing campaign right after the murder of George Floyd here in Minneapolis, as Snap is headquartered here in the Twin Cities. And we worked with influencers who were from communities around Minneapolis, to go and find organizations to donate to through Snap, and then tell that story of what those organizations were doing in their communities. So two little different kind of theme campaigns, but the first campaign, I would say the success metrics were people app installs and people who signed up for their challenge. At the time they were doing a challenge with this digital product. And then the second one was really more of a brand awareness campaign. So that one was like Snap wanted to speak to the events that were going on in their communities, and get a lot of positive brand awareness and then positive brand sentiment. So that one was a little different, reporting wise as far as how we were judging it. But
Gotcha. So, I mean, when you were like, how did you find your influencers? I know that you were looking for influencers who conveyed a certain message through their content, but I was curious to actually see, like, I mean, there's a ton of content being poured on Instagram every day. How did you find specific ones that matched Snap Fitness's brand and message?
yeah, well, part of it was just, I mean, I used a few, there's a few different tools that my team played around with. I think Influencely is one. I can't remember off the top of my head all the ones we used on that, but we used a few different tools to do influencer discovery, but also just spent time kind of looking at, we already had an established network of influencers, so we would go through kind of our database of people we worked with in the past, or people that we kind of indexed in the areas, the geographic areas and the demographic areas that we wanted to hit, and we would see what paired up, reach out, send an offer, and then kind of narrow it down to a short list, and then contract and run the campaign.
Gotcha. I'm curious to hear more about your socially influenced campaign that you did after the George Floyd riots. What,
Totally.
I mean, yeah, tell me more about it. I'm curious. I'm sure that the audience would love to hear it as well.
Yeah, no. So that one was really cool. Really happy to have been able to be a part of that. And it's actually a direction that my company is kind of expanding now, having kind of seen the success of that campaign and the impact that it was able to create. I think one of the issues right now, especially for larger corporate brands, is actually being able to speak authentically to and have those connections to the leaders and the organizations kind of in the communities, and especially in urban environments that they want to speak to and they want to help impact, and really kind of on a social level kind of have to right now, if they want to be taken seriously. So what we were able to do with that campaign was kind of provide a white glove service to Snap Fitness, saying, hey, you know, we are connected to, especially in MSP, we're very connected to the community, and or we're connected to influencers who are leaders in these communities, whether it's the Somali community here, or whether it's South Minneapolis or North Minneapolis. We have a network of individuals who are from these communities and have already been active as leaders for either social causes or working with nonprofits, and or talking about mental health, stuff like that. So we went and we found 10 influencers. I believe it was 10 for that campaign, and had some pairs of influencers go to different organizations in the community. And it was cool because, we worked with, like, for example, worked with someone who grew up a few blocks away from where George Floyd was murdered, who's from South Minneapolis. And so we worked with him to find an organization that he identified as being impactful in his own community that he was from, who was giving food and essential resources to people in South Minneapolis. And we were able to go and donate money to them, not only donate money, but spread awareness and help them raise more money, raise more awareness, and tell their story through his platform and through Snap's platform. So doing that was really cool because brands are becoming influencers, and influencers are becoming brands, really. And like there's platforms right now that I think a lot of them don't, both influencers and brands don't know, really how much power they have to do good in the world. And so starting to help some of, these influencers and brands really align social good and profits, and sustainability long term is really interesting to me and really cool. So
I would agree. I mean, not even just personal brands, but even corporate brands too. A lot
100%.
of them are being forced to, not like forced, but I mean, it's being highly encouraged for them to take a side, whether it's a political side, whether like my company, my work company, we've been extremely vocal about like the George Floyd riots and all that, and our CEO too has like put his money where his mouth is. And I feel like companies nowadays are going to be, it's either a sink or swim if you don't choose a side, and people are seeing that. Do you have any tips for people who are trying to become personal brands about how they can reach out to causes that they want to support?
Yeah, and one reorientation I would say is, I don't necessarily, I understand what you're saying. I wouldn't necessarily say that brands have to take a side, although that is just kind of the frame that we look at the world with right now in our culture, for better or for worse. But I do think, just like expressing their values and principles, and then backing that up with action. As far as putting out things that are positively impacting humanity, positively impacting the environment, positively impacting a specific community, and you can niche down into like, hey, this is like the specific thing that I think we can be most impactful in. But yeah, that it is true that brands and influencers are kind of being forced to speak out right now. And I would say that it certainly can be mishandled. It certainly can come across as inauthentic, especially for corporate brands, just because they are so big, and because
Yeah.
they are less connected to, you go through so many levels, and they have so many excuse me, individuals, within their entity, like within their ecosystem, that it's more difficult. They're less agile. So but you've seen brands like Nike do it really well, and obviously they have an industry, sports, where they're set up to do it well, but they have handled it super well, and it's, I think, benefited them a lot. So I would say, like, either look at the community that you're based in, or the market that you're serving. Like, if you're a food company, environmental sustainability. Like, if you're marketing, and you're playing with media, and you're playing with social media, like, mental health and positively impacting human psychology is something I think everyone should be conscious of in that space. And on actually the first event that my company hosted right after being founded in Twin Cities Startup Week was a panel on social media and mental health, because I was like, and we're not like a social impact business, but we are a business that can have a social impact, right? Just because we exist and we're doing stuff in the world, and so we want to make sure that's positive too on a personal and professional level. So um, I'd say just look at ways to get involved, and if you don't know how to do it authentically, or you don't have any idea, what's going to fit with your brand and your demographics to be most impactful and come across as most authentic, then work with an agency like mine that can help you kind of define that brand and media strategy and impact strategy to be conscious and actually back it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's wild what's going on in today's world. I mean, 2020, like a lot of stuff has happened. Ruth Bader Ginsburg just died, I think on Friday, and a lot of people are speaking out about that. And brands nowadays who 5 years ago, 10 years ago would have never said anything are now putting money, they're putting content on social media about social justice, women's rights, gender equality, all this. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. Will, what are a few takeaways do you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I would say that everyone has a platform right now. There's been no other time in human history when we've everyone has had access to the tools to create their own media platform in the way that we have now. So be feel very very fortunate and blessed to live in this time, even with all of the the negative sides of it as well. We all have the ability to go and create our own platform, to speak, to build businesses, to use social media to connect and collaborate. And that's a really positive thing. So I don't want that to get lost in some of the negative, groupthink kind of bubbles that are, and all of this political stuff that's political advertising, everything that's been really toxic in a lot of cases on social media. There's also like a really bright side to it too. And especially for entrepreneurs, especially for people building businesses, it's really incredible. So just remember that positive side of it, and use it as such. Use social media as a tool for good, as a tool for your own growth, for the growth of your business, the growth of the impact you want to have with your life. And I would say when you're creating content, when you're engaging, when you're going through your cycle, just remember remember why you started, right? Remember why you started your company, why you started creating, why you became an entrepreneur, why you chose the job or profession you did, and don't be afraid to inject a little bit of your own personality into it. I think the brands and the entrepreneurs, influencers that are winning right now and are going to keep winning long term are the ones that are they're human, right? They come across as human. They have a very authentic voice. It might be funny, it might be serious. It's all over the place, just like humans are. But they have some personality to them. They're not just a generic copy of 100,000 other humans on there. So I would say don't be afraid to inject your personality into your brand, your business, as you engage and create for social media.
That's awesome. And I hope that the audience will really take it to heart. Where can people find you on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, email, whatever? What are your handles?
Yeah, I'm at W Preble. Preble, Preble is my last name on Instagram. That's probably where I am most active. LinkedIn, Will Preble. Those would be the two main platforms I use personally. You can check out my company, Aeterna Media, Aeterna, Aeterna.media is the website. But yeah, feel free to
Awesome.
reach out.
And will do. I'll put those in the description below. And a question for you. Do you think social media handles are more valuable than emails?
Mm, yes.
Why is that?
I think people are known by their social media handles more so than they're known by their emails right now. Like especially on Instagram, people are with the amount of time we spend on social media. Your handle, and I really haven't been super intentional about mine, but like your handle becomes a really like big thing that's attached to people's perception of you now because of the amount of time they spend on social media. I would say yes.
I would tend to agree too. I mean, creating a personal brand is definitely hard, but is imperative in 2020. Um,
Agreed.
and so, I mean, I really thank you for coming on the podcast, Will. Highly appreciate it. I'm sure that we'll be in touch with the development of Social Cycle. For the audience, please follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Mo Money Mohit. That is MOMONEYMOHIT. Once again, appreciate it. Will, have a great day. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you for listening. This is Mohit. I'm signing off. Please rate us 5 out of 5 stars on wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, whatever it is. Thank you, and I hope that you have a great day. Please sign up for the beta at socialcycle.io.